we are preparing to go live. We should be live indeed right now. Greetings, greetings, family. Sister Shanice in the house, as you can see, alongside my special guest for tonight, Dr. Clyde Winters. Woo! How are you, Dr. Clyde?
Fine. And how you doing? What up, though? How you doing?
What up, though? I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for asking. As always, a privilege and an honor to have you on this platform because, wow, you are just an awesome giant in our community with so much knowledge to share. So we really do appreciate you. So really excited about today. And let me just go over to our audience, grab the link, and make sure that they all know that we are live. And in the meantime, Dr. Clyde, Yoshi has been doing some great works with you, hasn't he? He's an amazing videographer, graphics designer. Do you want to show us a little bit of maybe some of the works that he's been doing?
I'll try to do one of his videos if I can find. Did I have it up? Oh,
that would be awesome. So just letting the family know that we are live with Dr. Clyde Winters, and I'm going to be posting this in the background while you do that. So let me get out the way as well so that you can go live.
Well, we'll see if we can get this, if I can get this done. Let's see, share screen.
Yeah, these are the steps we have to go through, family, to share the screen. So hang on in there with us. And I'm going to be sharing in the background here as well. All right, so family, as you come through the door, please also let the rest of the family know that we are live. Let everyone know that we are in the house. I can see it, yes, indeed. Okay, it's not full screen, though.
Yeah. Oh, let me go back and make sure.
And remember to optimize the audio as well on the way in.
Yeah, I'll do that again.
Looking good already.
Okay, share sound, optimize video clip. Okay.
Welcome in the house, family. Let us know that you are in the house as you come through the door. Welcome.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
Not full screen, but we can see it.
Okay.
We are the blacks and Britons, yeah. Now we told us we were strangers in a land that we called our own. Caucasians who are Hebrew knew we built this stone by stone. From the ancient streets of London to the towns they claim to know. Our history runs deeper like the river's steady flow. We built this land, yeah. From the ground up to the sky, our roots run deep, yeah. And our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know the truth. We're the builders of this tide. They say we're new arrivals, just got here yesterday, but our ancestors laid these bricks. Who's the immigrant, you say? From Africa to Albion, we crossed the endless seas, carried our culture and its secret we taught our seas. The ground up to the sky, our roots run deep, yeah. And our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know builders of this tide. Your pasty ways lead you to make laws to push us out. We are the foundational Black Britons who built this damn house. In every brick, in every street, our legacy will stand. We are the people who built this goddamn land. This land to erase, from the ground up to the sky, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah. And our spirits never die, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know the truth. We're the builders of this tide. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. Now, you need to leave. Ooh. 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 You need to leave. Now.
Wow, amazing works there by Yoshi. Oh my gosh, those graphics, the track. Did he write it? And who's the artist? Who's singing?
He wrote it, and it's all AI.
Oh, okay. Oh, AI is the topic for my show next strong. I've got the author of the book, Pandora Box. It's like AI, the future. What is it going to look like? What have we opened ourselves up to? Look at
Right.
AI. It's taking over. Wow, that was AI.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yoshi Mod the genius. He can do so much. I wish I could find him a sugar mama or a sugar daddy. They could, finance him, because he's doing so much good work, and we need that out there, because a lot of people don't. Can you hear me?
Yes, hearing you loud and clear. Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people out there, they don't know our history. They don't know your history. They don't. They just say, I'm going back to Britain. No. That's your home. That's your home. Your foundational Black Britons. Yeah. They took our ancestors away. They took the Black Irish, the Black British. They sent 300,000, maybe 300,000 adults and 100,000 children to the Caribbean and to the 13 colonies. A lot of times that's how we got our names. A lot of us, we didn't get our names from our slave masters. We got those names from our family connections, our family that was sold into chattel slavery. Yeah, the white Irish, yes, the white Irish who took our place. They didn't come over here as chattel slaves. Maybe some of them were indentured servants, but the Black Irish, our ancestors, the people who gave us our names. I mean, when I was reading a book about the Winters family, and they called my family over and said when we were in Ireland we were thieves. We weren't thieves. We weren't thieves. No. They said we were some big Black thieves. No, we were not. At least I hope they weren't.
Oh, so yeah, absolutely agree with all of what you said there, and that's largely our history there that's been hidden from us in plain sight, and that's what we've been uncovering. That's what we've been digging up, as researchers on your program, and so it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm just posting a link here, and just to let the family have the link and they can find us more easily. I was telling Dr. Clyde family behind the scenes that YouTube's taken down another one of my videos. So, if you like my videos, you need to download them quick before YouTube gets to them. And so Dr. Clyde said, which one did they take down? And it's the one that I did on the horrors of slavery. They said that it contravened their violent and graphic content policy. I'm like, well, wasn't slavery graphic and violent? We experienced it, and they're saying that we can't even show these images. And these are images that I got from YouTube and video clips.
Maybe it was the title, The Horrors of Slavery. Maybe they didn't even look at the video. They may have just went off the title and decided they want to get rid of it. But they don't want you to know. Like I always tell my audience, that if you do a Google search, on slavery, about 75 to 85% of all the pictures is a overseer whooping a Black woman, not a Black man whooping a Black woman, because see they understood that the Black woman is the mother goddess. The Black woman, in a sense, she lives on two planes. Yeah, she's here, but she also has that higher plane. She has that connection with the Creator that gives her that closeness. It gives her that intuition. It gives her that ability to see more than any of us can see, you know. And because they understand the metaphysics of the Black woman, they always feel they had to find some way to check it. That's why maybe they want to check down Sista Shanice's videos, because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know your history. They don't want you to know your presence, your agency.
So true. You know, there was a time when, you know, all the deities were Black women. Imagine all the deities across the entire world were Black women. Yes, that's the power that we had in the ancient world. That's the respect that we had in the ancient world. And thank you for bigging us up and for reminding us of that, you know, despite it being within the context of slavery. So, you know, if you want to, you know, watch this show back in the future, make sure that you download it, family. Okay, let's welcome some of the audience, and then we're going to go straight into the presentation, because as usual, you know, I have too many slides, and so and I want to whiz through this as quickly as possible. So we rise up, a Queen Mother International in the house, all the way from South Africa. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you in the house. We've got Didi from the UK. Welcome, Didi. Kwame Aboje. Oh, rise up, Brother Kwame. He says, Hotep, Sister Shanice, Baba Winters, and he's greeting everybody in the house. Brother Kimani, Sister Amma, our sister from South Africa, Brother Mundele. You know, how comes I'm not seeing all of these people here? Yeah, rise up, S.A. Smith. Great to have you in the house as well. I'm going to have to open up another page because I'm not seeing everybody that our Brother Kwame Aboje is seeing in the house. So welcome everyone that's in the house. Well, as you know, I'm going to be doing a presentation this evening, and the idea is to give you a little bit of a flavor of how, you know, Dr. Winters and I drop it on our courses, because, you know, we do have a course coming up, and it would be awesome if more of you were to join us on our course. And so, yeah, we're going to do that presentation just to give you a bit of a flavor of what you're going to be missing if you don't join us on our course, okay? And hopefully, after we've whet your appetite a bit, you're going to actually sign up. So I'm ready to kick off. Dr. Clyde, do you want to share anything else before we kick off with our presentation today?
No, I'm excited to be here with our Sister Shanice, you know, my oracle. You know, she's the oracle of Black identity. She's an oracle of Black knowledge. She's an oracle. You know, we come to you and we pray in the sense that you can shed light on us and give us that holy presence, and knowing that through you we can find peace. Through you we can find knowledge. Thank you, oracle. Sister Shanice.
Wow, you are just, you know, too kind. You really are, you know.
The truth has set you free. The truth has set you free now.
Rise up, rise up. Okay, so let me just prepare to share screen and do all the things I need to do back here. Hopefully I get it right first time. Let's now go into presenter view so that, you know, we've got the right portion of the screen on display for you. So that's going to come up in just a moment now. Okay, you should have it. Can you see that, Dr. Clyde?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that slide. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, well, let's kick off with our advert, shall we? For part 3 of the Black British History course. That
Sister Shanice and Dr. Clyde Winters are back with part 3 of the British Black African History course. We will be studying the substantial power, authority and rulership positions African held in British history in time gone by. Imagery, inscriptions, documented evidence and artifacts will be presented to resurrect the memory, legacy and accomplishments of a glorious Black African history in Britain. The evidence presented in the course will leave you in no doubt of the authority and sovereignty Africans held as ultimate rulers of the land. The course will also highlight the integral role of religion in former African British society, their icons, highly revered African saints, Christ and emperors of the Christian religion. starting Monday the 9th of September 2024 from 7:30 through to 9:30 p.m. for 6 consecutive weeks. It's delivered online, so you don't have to go anywhere. For more information and to download a free course brochure, go to sistashanice.gumroad.com or call 07961 909 595. That's 07961 909 595. This course is designed to leave a lasting legacy of cultural pride and self-esteem.
Shay, that's exactly what it's designed to do. Leave a legacy of cultural pride because, don't we need to restore cultural pride? Want to rise up those of you who are still coming through the house. Big up Time to Succeed. Sister Verna's in the house. Mundele's in the house. Yenge Pimpa Kiambote. Beloved, great to have you in the house. He's saluting us, Dr. Craig. Thank you. The Congo Leopard. Welcome, welcome. Sheriff S is in the house. Great to have you in the house. And Leon Gale is in the house as well. Okay, family, let us know that you're in the house. If you've got any questions, if you've got any points, if you've got any contribution as we go through the presentation, drop them in the chat and we'll try and bring out some of your comments and points of view. So yes, it's our job as a people to affricate our community. We can't rely on or expect anyone else to do so. So hence why the giant, Dr. Winters, has agreed to do this course with us for 6 consecutive strongs. And I'm honored to be able to fly underneath his great wings as well. So hopefully you've got the email address, you've got the phone number, you've got what you need if you want more information. You can go to Gumroad, download the brochure. It's absolutely free to do so, or you can contact for more information. Okay, the course is £199. It works out at just over £30 per session. And what you're paying for is just a fraction of the huge amount of research that goes into putting this program together. Oh my days, you're going to be blown away. And you'll be the first to get the information as well. So who am I? I am Sista Shanice, born in the UK, Jamaican heritage, African origin, and I'm proud to say I'm a graduate of the Dr. Winters Africana Phenomenology Research Program, part of a new strand of African-centered researchers and producers of scholarly work that focuses on unearthing hidden archaeological, anthropological, linguistic, and symbolic proof of deep-rooted cultural and historical presence of us as Africans across the globe. I'm the author of 3 books. Well, it's actually 4 books now. My Coconut Tree, the Black King of Anglo-Saxon England, or Anglo-Saxon Mercia, if people want to be particular. Mercia is one of the kingdoms in what is today known as England, and also author of the remarkable accomplishments of ancient African civilizations. And I've just recently done a booklet, which is absolutely free of charge, and that is a tribute book to Marcus Messiah Garvey. If you catch the vision and the essence of what Garvey stood for, oh my days, you will be on another level. And if you sow the seeds of Garveyism into your family members, and especially into the hearts and mind and spirit of our children, you will be preparing them to be formidable as an adult. And so every man, woman, and child needs to get a copy of that tribute book in your hands. You can download it from my Gumroad site. So just go to sistashanice.gumroad.com and you can get that book free of charge, okay? It's a tribute to the community. Look at this formidable picture and image. I love it, of Dr. Clyde Winters. He is an educator, anthropologist, linguist. He's taught education and linguistics at St. Saviour's University in Chicago, author of numerous articles, anthropology, archaeogenetics, and linguistics. His articles have appeared in so many journals, and I'm just naming a few here, like the Black Studies, Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, the Science magazines, bio essays, Current Science. So many publishers have published his works. and is also the author of almost 50 books as well. He even deciphered the Meroitic, Olmec, and Danubian writing systems. My gosh, we have an incredible genius in our midst. Rise up, Dr. Clyde. You deserve the accolade. Okay, let's go into our presentation for today. Now, the work that we have to do as archaeologists and overseeing the work of archaeologists is really trying to find what they've been hiding from us, because there's so much of our history that archaeologists have been uncovering that we just don't see. And even in this discovery here that they're all posing next to, it is evidence of African presence in Britain. But if you don't recognize the symbology, then you wouldn't even know it. And so, there's so many reasons why we need to be concerned about the work of archaeologists, and I'm going to be going into that in a bit more in this presentation. But as they say, until the lions have their historians and the tales of the hunt, until the lions have their historians, that's it. The tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunter. And so archaeologists, when they uncover, our history, they're the ones who are claiming our history. They're the ones who are telling our stories. And they're the ones, along with their historians and their scientists, who are using our ancient history to fill the void and the knowledge that they have of their history. So, we need to take back our history, and we need to develop the narrative for ourselves, because they're using our history to glorify and to elevate their race and denigrate our race as a people. We can't have that. And, they call themselves archaeologists, but to be honest, to me, they're like modern day tomb robbers. What do you think? They're like modern day tomb robbers. So anyway, they dig up our history, they hide the findings, and then it's up to us to try and do the research to find what they've been hiding, so that we can present, the findings using our own narrative from an African-centered perspective. So we have to go digging to find the books that they've hidden the information away in, to find the books where there are the images of what they found that they haven't disclosed, so it's like, you're going to see what it's like from this presentation, the sort of work that we have to do. It's like we are investigators. We have to go there and do the research. We have to explore the works that they've been doing. We have to dig deep just to try and uncover our history. So, join us. It's good fun as well. It's like putting yourself in the shoes of a detective, and then, you go out there digging for clues. You're looking in the ancient books, you get excited when you uncover something interesting, when you find some hidden facts, when, you're able to make the link that you found in Europe, say, back to Africa. There's so much that, so much satisfaction you can get from doing the work. So think about becoming one of Dr. Winters's Africana phenomenologist researchers. We are part of a new breed of African researchers. And there's so much information out there. And in terms of the archaeology, we need to have this information, because, it tells us about the daily lives of our ancestors. And we need to have that information that they are digging up and that they are unearthing, because it gives us more knowledge and more of an insight into who we are. Okay, so the title of our course was When Britain Was Black. And a lot of people, most people around the world, don't even know that the indigenous people of Britain were actually Africans. It is Britain's best kept secret, and they cover it up. That's why the archaeologists, they're out there hiding the artifacts that they find, and they're not on their own. They operate as part of a network of museums, educational institutions, universities, private collection houses, auction houses, all across the world, working together, across the Western world in particular, working together with their allies. And they're all involved in this big cover-up to deny us, as Africans, the knowledge of our former greatness, the knowledge of our enormous contribution to world civilization and development. So if we zoom into Britain, Britain is just one of the cover-ups, yeah? Us as Africans, we migrated out of Africa at least 200,000 years ago and settled across the globe. Britain, when our ancestors arrived here, was a forest. And, you know, as Africans, it was us who were the first to cultivate the land. We populated the land. We spread across England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. We even spread across the British Isles as well, and we flourish as nations and as societies. And our African ancestors, they maintained their links with the Africans around the world, not just Africans in Africa, but Africans around the world, because we migrated around the world and populated the globe. And over time, in England and in Britain, our ancestors started they started clearing the forests, they introduced agriculture, animal husbandry, built the homesteads there, they built enclosed cities and kingdoms, they had their own kings, African kings or chiefs that ruled over their kingdoms. We had our own religions, you know, when all of it was influenced by our African traditions. And these African British societies that had been established here in Britain had, you know, it's their own way of life. And that way of life has been taken over today. It's been usurped into British society as we know it today. And we are not getting the credit for anything that we brought to this land. Even though Africans have been here for over tens of thousands of years and contributed towards making Britain what it is today, we don't get any credit for it. Just like we don't get any credit today for the contributions that our parents made, even during the Windrush generation, much less the credit for the significant and enormous contribution of our ancestors. So when Africans migrated from out of Africa, some of us went to the east, towards Asia, some of us went to the west, but, you know, we populated the entire globe. And as we went through the Middle East, we populated there, which is just North Africa anyway. We populated the Mediterranean region, we populated, you know, all the islands in between. We came all the way up through Portugal, Spain, France, Britain, Germany, Eastern Europe, all the way up to Russia. Was originally populated by us as Africans, and we established our societies, our own rulers, we had our language, our culture, and everything. And all of this family was before there was even a single white man or woman that ever came anywhere on the scene, anywhere in the world. Can you imagine that? That yes, there was a time when the world was black and there were no white people at all yet in the world. And so the history of Britain, we find today, has been rewritten in favor of the rulers of today. And the past complexion of Britain has been whitewashed. And, you know, our Asian history that belongs to us, it's being denied of us today. And in the same way that Britain, as I'm saying in Europe, is stolen land, it's stolen land just like Australia, Canada, America, and many other parts of the world is stolen land today. But we know, don't we, family, that what you bury, nature has a way of resurrecting it. Does it not? Nature has a way of just rising up that which they may try to bury. And with the information age today, with information technology, IT, you know, Google and access to so many ancient books, you know, the work of the researcher is so much easier than it was in the past. There's a lot of information that we are uncovering. We don't need to go to the museums all over the world anymore. We can just go into museums from the comfort of our homes. We can sit up in bed and tour museums these days anywhere in the world, and we can find, some of these hidden artifacts, and we can see some of what they've got on display. Now, some months back, I actually interviewed someone who had the opportunity to go beneath the British Museum as part of a university project that they did in the 70s. And I always said that these people are hiding our artifacts and our information, beneath the British Museum. And I thought it was a basement. He said it's a city under there. It's got roads like highways underneath the museum, tunnels, and they're quite tall, and they're using like cranes to lift the huge big stacks of our artifacts that they've got piled on top of one another in these huge cases. A huge city under there, and that's just the British Museum. And there are so many other museums across the European world. And so, we can't even begin to imagine the extent of our history that they've got in all of these places. But the British Museum alone has millions. I can't remember how many millions. I think it's something like, you'll have to look it up, family, to see how many millions of pieces of artifacts the British Museum actually owns. And so for centuries, this Eurocentric world has been burying and has been whitewashing the truth. But no matter how hard they try to bury it, this is a new day. The truth is coming up. And, some of you might be thinking, they wouldn't do that. No, they wouldn't go around whitewashing our history, would they? Well, what are they doing in Egypt right now? Are they not whitewashing the pharaohs? Are they not in the tombs with their teams whitewashing over some of the images of the beautiful Black people who were the original people of the time in Egypt? That's what's happening now. And so it's really up to us, to go out there and do the work before all of our history gets eroded. And don't be put off by the white world, because they're going to come after us, like a swarm of bees to try and discredit the work that we're doing, because they don't want the truth to come out. But at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. We had tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of years of our existence prior to the white man coming out of the Caucasus Mountains on all four, with no culture, no idea of religion or spirituality or language or anything. Okay, so that is the reality of our history. And also, very importantly, what we need to remember when we think of Britain in the ancient times as well, is that there was a time when Britain was even part of the Ethiopian Empire. That is, that was the vastness of the Ethiopian Empire. It stretched from the East, Asia in the East, right over to Russia in the West. That was the length and breadth of the Ethiopian Empire. And then at another time in our history in Britain, we were very much under the influence of the Egyptian Empire as well, which had considerable influence across the ancient world. So there have been many influences over different points in time in Britain. And there were even times, significant times up to today, when Britain and other parts of Europe had their own kings and their own kingdoms, and they ruled themselves. So if they weren't part of empires, they had their own kings and kingdoms and domains over which they were responsible for. And so I know when we watch the Hollywood movies, they totally misrepresent history. They always put themselves into history, but now and again, they do give us a little glimpse of our history. And some of you might recall the film that was entitled The Last Black King of Scotland. Yeah, depicting a person of African descent. That was a little bit of an admission on their part that they knew that Black kings at one time actually ruled Scotland. But the obvious question is, if that was the last Black king of Scotland, and who was the first Black king of Scotland? And then who were the Black kings in between the first and the last? Yeah. And yeah, we have the answers to those questions, and we'll be touching on that on the course. We're not touching on it, we'll actually be going into them a bit on the course that we're going to be starting on the 9th of September. But if you did a Google and ask the question, did Scotland have a Black king? Don't be surprised if you get this sort of response. There is a response that's going to totally refute and deny that the existence of there ever being a Black king of Scotland, because that's the sort of thing they do. So you'll get something like, Scotland has never had a Black king in the sense of a monarch of African coloration. What it has had is a king called Black Malcolm, or more accurately, Dub Mac Malcolm, who ruled from 962 to 967 AD. He had black hair, and that's how he got his name. Wow, and so many more people, will ask that question, get that response, and go away thinking, oh, it was just a Hollywood made-up film. And then some people will be a bit more curious, and they try and dig a bit deeper, and they'll go and visit some of the websites, but not realizing that the Western academics have got so many websites, write so many articles across the internet, and they will all try and disprove the existence of any Black kings of Scotland, Black kings of Britain or Ireland or anywhere else, because they're all there to maintain the illusion that Britain was always white. But if you dig deeper and keep digging, you will come to the truth. You have to dig past all the whitewashed characters as well. You really have to dig past all those denialists. You'll have to dig past those who are trying to say the original complexion of the people of Britain wasn't actually Africans. And if you know where to look, and if you're determined, you will actually find the truth. You'll find actual descriptions of the people, of the original people of England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the British Isles. And when you find those descriptions, if you continue in the academic realm, they'll even try and change the definition of some of the descriptions that have been used to describe the ancient people of Britain. So you will have to sometimes even go into old dictionaries and go down to the etymology of the word, just so that you've got the right information. But, it's great, when you do find, these Black monarchs and these people who have been whitewashed in history that you uncover and realize were actually, in fact, Africans. And so that's what's exciting about the course, when we make these sort of discoveries and we find, our ancestors, and we can claim them back for our African heritage and for our own. And so there's a lot of false images out there. It's deliberate because, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. I've got some pictures here in this next slide. And, wherever our ancestors went, obviously they would build their houses or they build their homesteads. And, they might use particular patterns and particular styles in the way that they would build their homesteads, their cities, their walled cities, and how they lived. And, when they left Africa, they took a lot of their African culture with them. They didn't just leave it behind. And I'd like you in the chat to have a little chat about this, actually. So in the first image that we've got here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's the one on my left that's got a little bit of a brown tint on it. That is the reconstruction of the homestead and conical tower at the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe over 3,000 years ago. Okay, we can see the round houses, we can see the straw thatch roof, we can see the conical tower, that tall tower thing. We can also see the wall, the Great Wall going around the homestead, and then another wall inside that wall as well. And then inside that wall, you've got, the community with all their houses, and you can see the people going about their daily business. Not too dissimilar to maybe some of the houses and some of the villages that you might find in the outskirts of some of the African countries today. So that's a reconstruction of what they think the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe's homestead would have looked like. And then here on the right-hand side at the top, you've got the reconstruction of a typical ancient Scottish homestead that they call brocks. This tall conical kind of tower thing that's in the middle of the homestead in Scotland, they call them brocks. Very similar to the conical tower. We think they might have used them for keeping grains in, you know, so that, you know, if there was a drought, that this space here would be full of grains, and they would also use the grains, you know, for agricultural purposes. Well, in this reconstruction of this ancient Scottish homestead, you can see it's got round houses, thatch roofs, its conical tower, and it's also got its circular enclosure as well. It's walled, it's bricked, walled enclosure. And there's about 600 of these around the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe area alone. And there are, I don't know how many of them, but a substantial number of them can be found and can be spotted from an aerial view all across Scotland, Ireland as well. And then down here, the third picture, with the door opening that you can see in the what the Scottish call the broch. You've got the Broch of Musa, and this is an archaeological site in Scotland. And next to it over here, and I've actually been to the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe and seen this conical tower, you know, with my own eyes. You've got a similar, what they call a broch in Scotland, a conical tower as an archaeological site in Zimbabwe as well. Now, look at the similarities between the two. Same builders? I don't know. What do you think, family? Tell me what you think in the chat. That you know. So our ancestors, they built their houses and their homesteads, and I think they took their culture with them. And I think this is evidence that they took their culture with them. Remember, the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe is estimated to have supported a population of between 10 to 20,000 people. Yeah, it was an enormous homestead. And this is the way they built it. And, you know, they would have animal husbandry going on. They'd have agricultural happening. By the time of the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe, it was actually a thriving city, thriving society, you know, with 600 different cities, actually. So you could call it an empire. And they were trading in gold, trading in a whole range of things by then. So that meant our people were mining, they were using the gold and creating objects and ornaments and things with it. And they'd been doing that for thousands of years. So I thought that's really interesting. And that's the sort of thing that we do when we research from an African-centered perspective. Now, let me bring you an article that I found in the Guardian newspaper. It talked about the oldest Homo sapiens bones ever found, and how these bones that they found actually shook the foundations of human history. And it's the idea that humans had evolved in East Africa 200,000 years ago. That's what they had believed for decades. But when they found these bones, for them it was like, oh my gosh, extraordinary discovery. These bones are 300,000 years old. And they're the remains, you know, of a modern human, 300,000 years old. What does it mean, you know? Well, this single discovery meant that all the European historians had to rewrite their history. They had to completely reevaluate what their understanding was of human human evolution, especially in regards to the timeline of us as Africans. And so, they thought that, we emerged about 200,000 years ago in East Africa. And here they go, finding this 300,000-year-old skull in Morocco. And who knows, in a decade's time, they might do some digging in South Africa and they might find, skeleton remains that they date as like 500,000 years old or so. So what this shows is they don't really know how old we are as Africans. They just speculate. And it's not until the archaeologists makes their discoveries and then they go and get the fossil remains tested and all the rest of it that they are able to give a date as to how old they think we are as Africans. But the truth is they don't really know. They still got this idea of the Darwin evolutionary theory in the back of their mind, but they are going to, I'm predicting, to keep turning up bones, because the deeper they dig, the blacker it gets, because we are an ancient people and they don't know how old we are. They just make it up as they go along. And we need to be telling our own stories about who we are as Africans, the origins of us as Africans. All they know is that humanity started in Africa and then we migrated out of Africa. But we've got to tell that story of that migration, where we went to, using the same archaeological information as they do. So here's an early human migration map that you can just get off the internet. And this has been put together according to anthropologists and the geneticists who have done, the mapping of the human DNA. And from the mapping of that DNA and through the fossil remains studies that they've been doing, they've established that the earliest humans existed in Africa, they say millions of years ago, okay, millions of years ago. And that 1.9 million years ago is when humans started moving out of Africa. And from we moved out of Africa, we went across populated what they call the Middle East, which is just the northern part of Africa. And then we found our way to Europe. So by about 200,000 years ago, we ended up in Europe. Some of us continued through the Middle East, and some of us branched off and ended up in Asia 200,000 years ago. And some of us continued on that journey. And about 50,000 years ago, some of us ended up in Australia. Some of us continued and some of us ended up in North America about 30,000 years ago. And then some of us crossed over from North America to South America, populated the islands in between and the countries in between. And about 12,500 years ago, ended up in South America. Now they've done these calculations based on, DNA fossil remains that they found around the world. But again, who's to say they're not going to find older DNA fossil remains, older skeletons that's going to, change what has to be written about our history and history as they know it today. So really important in terms of the African history timeline. We've just seen from that DNA fossil remains mapping that they've been doing that, the African are ancient, possibly millions of years old. And so that means that we existed during that time as humans, and we had a prehistory to the history that we are being taught today. What is that prehistory? Why have most of the history books, just totally omitted the fact that there was an ancient African history that goes back millions of years up to about 10,000 BCE that they call the Stone Age era? We have a massive Stone Age history that's hardly spoken of. And then between 10,000 BCE and 8,000 BCE, we have a Mesolithic period of history. Then we have a megalithic period of history, which when the Egyptian and the Phoenicians came into great influence. We have a Neolithic history, 7,000 to 1,700 BCE, history in the era that they call the Copper Era, the Tin and Bronze Age era, the Bronze Era, the Iron Age era, the Roman era, the Anglo-Saxon era, packed with African history, packed with our history that they know about from the excavations that they've been doing, that they know about from the carbon dating that they've been doing, that they know about from the analysis of the artifacts and the fossil remains that they've been doing, you know, and that they've been piecing together, that we don't know anything about. All of this history about, you know, our ancient ancestors, their way of life, their culture, you know, the environment that they lived in, how they lived, you know, all of this information they know, but we have got to uncover it for ourselves because it's been hidden, a lot of it in plain sight as well. Hundreds of thousands of years of our history hidden, deliberately omitted from the contemporary modern historical accounts and academia accounts of history because it's not their history. But now and again, you know, a little something actually pops up. And what popped up a year or two ago was a documentary about the Mesolithic and Neolithic skeleton remains that was actually investigated by a team of scientists. Now, this was a team of scientists from different European countries. So it wasn't just the British, though. They couldn't have just covered it up, you know, because, you know, as part of this team, they had geneticists and they had archaeologists. And geneticists, they're like the new kids on the block. They're revolutionizing our understanding of prehistory because not only do we now, before we used to have to rely on the skeleton remains that was collected by the archaeologists. And then, you know, once the archaeologists had uncovered a skeleton, they'd get their artists to do an artist's impression of the skeleton. And 9.9% of the time, 9.9 out of 10% of the time, you know, it would be the image of a European. But now the geneticists, you know, who are taking some scrapings from the skeleton bones or the skeleton teeth, are actually finding the melanin content in these bones and finding out that a lot of these skeletons were actually people of color. They were Africans. Wow. So, you know, some of the skeletons that they thought were white or that they claimed to be white because they were found in Britain, from the DNA analysis now, is turning out to be black. So totally changing Britain's understanding of history, but still a lot of it is being hidden from us. But, you know, we were let into what they had discovered when they did the DNA analysis of Cheddar Man. So scientists investigating the origins of farming in Britain examined DNA from 47 Neolithic, New Age farmer skeletons. Yeah, so they found obviously a burial site with 47 Neolithic Stone Age skeletons. And they said that these were farmer skeletons dating from 6,000 to 4,500 years ago. And 6 Mesolithic, this is the Middle Stone Age era of the hunter-gatherers. They found 6 even, you know, Mesolithic hunter-gatherer skeletons, even older. These ones were said to be about 11,600 to 6,000 years old. And when they examined the skeleton remains of one of them, it was found to be black, so they just covered up all the rest. That's me just adding that bit on, because I've yet to find the results of the DNA of the other 47 Neolithic skeletons and the results of the other 6 even older skeletons that they found. So, but they've given us the results of one, and the genetic result came up with a description of Cheddar Man as we see him today. And as we know, this is, you know, a refined version of a black man as well. You know, so this is what the genetic evidence has proved. It's proved that, 10,000, 20,000 years ago, there are skeleton remains that are found in the Somerset region belonging, to people of color, Africans, proving that there was an early population in the region of Black Africans. And these skeletons can be found, if they're going to be truthful, all over Britain. And there are many of these archaeological digs that have been done. And if you do the research, you might be able to find, some scholarly papers hidden in their science magazines that talk about the results of those particular archaeological digs. And this is what we're always looking for. So following on now from that article in the Guardian newspaper that I mentioned earlier, where they, discovered the oldest Homo sapien bones ever found and found it to be over 300,000 years old. This slide follows on from that. And it's, they were saying it's shaking the foundations of our human story. They were saying the remains of more individuals may yet be found at the site, but precisely what they were doing there is unclear. They were said about their history, anyway, analysis of the flint tools shows that the stones came not from the local area, but from a region about 50 kilometers south of Jebril Irpound. Why did they come here? They brought their toolkit with them and they exhausted it, Hublin said. So scientists are baffled why our ancestors made the journey to this region, brought their tools with them. But why do people normally travel to an area? Why do they normally bring their tools with them? Why should they be baffled about it? But anyway, it says, let me just quote what the article says. The tools they brought with them have been resharpened, and resharpened again. They did not produce new tools on the spot. So this is now the scientists speculating. It might be that they did not stay that long, or maybe it was an area they would come to do something specific. We think they were hunting gazelles. There are a lot of gazelle bones, and they were making lots of fire. So maybe they were hunting foods, and that's what they were using the tools for, and then cooking the food using the fires that they found. So, these are ancient skeletons from where they found the ancient skeletons. They also found all these tools that these people had been using. And so Hublin, who's commenting in the article, concedes that scientists have too few fossils to know whether modern humans had spread to the four corners of Africa 300,000 years ago. The speculation is based on what the scientists see as similar features in a 260,000-year-old skull found in South Africa. Wow. So because of the brainwashing, they can't believe what they're seeing. They can't believe that humans actually spread to the four corners of Africa. They can't, they found this human skull in South Africa that dated 260,000 years. Now they're finding this one in North Africa, 300,000 years, dated 300,000 years ago. They found one in East Africa that was dated 200,000 years. So here they have Africans in South Africa, East Africa, North Africa. They've yet to do some digging in West Africa, and I'm sure they'll find, skeleton remains of ancient Africans there as well. So we get an indication from this of the age of the Africans, which is probably grossly underestimated anyway, because as we can see, their knowledge of history changes, and all of what they thought they knew, one archaeological dig can actually change all of that. And so this is what they're trying to find out. How old are we as Africans? How long have we been on this earth for as Africans? Every time we do these digs, we keep finding that these people are older and older than we thought, and that means that we've had thousands, hundreds of thousands of years to develop and perfect whatever it was that we were doing as a people. And we're not the new kids on the block. They're the new kids on the block. Wow, wow, wow. So there's another quote here that says, for me, claiming these remains are Homo sapiens stretches the meaning of that term a bit. So you're going to get people who even are going to doubt, you know, that these were actually humans, because they still think that people from Africa, you know, couldn't have been human. Yeah, but you know, then you know, they show these skeletons with these rigid, these brows that come over, you know, people who have quite you know, heavy brows, and say, look, you know, these can't be real humans. But they find, even if you look in parts of the world today, Papua New Guinea and the likes, you see, you know, people with those sort of facial features where they've got those really pronounced kind of eyebrows, and their skulls sort of come out a little bit. So anyway, these people are finding out new things every day. So we're saying, you know, that the original people are black. And one of the questions we get asked, well, how did the Africans travel to Britain? Well, that's a great question. And here, with a bit of digging, I've found a boat that's 8,000 years old. And this boat was discovered in Nigeria, the Dufuna canoe. Wow, 8,000 years old. So what was our people doing with the canoe? 8,000 years old. Yeah, so not only have we established that the oldest Homo sapien boats ever found, you know, belong to the Africans, now we're finding evidence that, you know, the oldest canoe ever found, you know, was also found in Africa as well. And, you know, this boat must have been an important part of everyday life, and having a boat tells a story in itself, does it not? So it says that our African ancestors, 8,000 years ago at least, you know, had the boat, and they was using the boat to obviously sail the seas. And how do we know that they traveled? Because in order to travel the seas, they would have to have, you know, knowledge of navigation, the currents, you know, but this is an 8,000-year-old boat. Could our ancestors really have had knowledge during the Mesolithic era of how to sail a boat to other parts of the world? Wow, some may think that is too much of a stretch of the imagination. Well, let's have a good look at this boat this canoe that was discovered in Nigeria. Because what I want to show you is a boat that was discovered in Ireland. This is an image of a very similar canoe that was discovered in Ireland. And this one is dated to be over 4,000 years old, probably older. You know, so what is a similar boat to the one that we've just looked at in Nigeria doing in Ireland? Tell me in the chat, you know, what is the chance of that? A very similar appearing canoe in Nigeria. Here we have one dated over 4,000 years old in Ireland that was uncovered. And this one was at 50 feet long, a 50-foot canoe that they found in a bog in Ireland. They dug it out and it's in the museum. I don't know if it's still in the Museum of Ireland on display now, but if it is, it's something that, you know, we ought to go and look at. But not only did we have canoes in Nigeria, not only were there very similar canoes in Ireland, but those of us who are familiar with, you know, some of the artifacts that's been uncovered in Egypt, you will know that our ancestors had boats during the times of the Egyptian as well, and that they were sailing. This image shows their oars with the boat. It shows people on the boat, and it even looks like, you know, they've got a queen on the boat as well. And so in the previous slide, we've got an image of an 8,000-year-old canoe in West Africa, 4,000-year-old canoe that they found in Ireland. And here we have from artifacts as well, depicting the original people of Egypt in a sailing boat. And all of this is evidence of Africans in ancient times having knowledge of the sea, of maritime, and able to sail the seas as well. And so they would have had to have been able to navigate the seas in order to sail from West Africa, you know, down to South Africa, around that coast, and then over, you know, to Britain thousands of years ago. Yes, sailing from Africa across the Mediterranean. You know, we see it happening today, don't we? We see all kinds of boats, you know, coming from Libya, North Africa, making its way across the Mediterranean in these perilous conditions. And some of them make it, many of them don't, you know. So we can even see today that our African brothers, when they're determined, they will jump on boats and they will go to a part of the world where they think, you know, life is going to be better. So we had our sailors navigating the seas during ancient times. I don't think we should be under an illusion that that happened. And some of us also may be familiar with the story. Let me, for time, let me skip this particular one, actually. But this is the Kennan Empire and dynasty. And they, you know, had great seafaring sailors as well. But let me bring in the expertise of our late great Ivan van Sertima, and he's gonna tell us a little bit about whether or not he thinks Africans were sailing in ancient times. Let's hear from Ivan van Sertima. Let's go back so that you can get that slide. Go back, where are you? Come in. So, tell me if you can hear this. I'm not sure why it's not playing. Oh, go back. Hang on. It played during rehearsal, family, so hopefully it will play here. I'm not sure. Okay, let's try.
And
yes.
Apart from this oceanographic evidence, there's the navigational evidence. That's the boats. The Africans had the boats. The Africans built the boat for Haidal. Haidal became world famous about how he crossed the Atlantic. He didn't build the boat. It was Africans who built the boat for him. A boat they had used before Christ, the Buduma people on Lake Chad. It's in my new book, Early America. You'll see the boat. The Africans built it. They could easily have crossed. And when you cross, the current actually takes you into the Caribbean, to Brazil, or parts of South America, to Mexico, etc.
There you go. Our African ancestors, they understood the currents. They understood the currents that would take you to South America, to Mexico, to where you wanted to go. And you would ride the currents, and you would have to be skilled in order to ensure that you didn't go crashing against the waves. You know, you'd have to be able to navigate the waves, but you could cross the seas. And that's how some of our ancestors traveled in ancient times. And of course, you know, they would have traveled, some would have traveled on foot as well. But you can see the Africans had the knowledge of how to build boats. And so Ivan van Sertima was talking about this new Norwegian anthropologist, Heyerdahl. He became famous because it's claimed he built a boat, which he didn't build. Ivan van Sertima makes it clear that it was the Africans that built the boat from papyrus reeds, and he sailed that boat from North Africa all the way to Barbados. So he became world famous for proving that it could actually be achieved, okay? Because they couldn't believe, I suppose, that Africans in ancient time were making these voyages. And some of us might remember the story of Abu Bakari II. He was either the brother, but definitely the predecessor of Mansa Musa. And there's a documented account that was recorded by an Arab historian who's apparently spoke to Mansa Musa, who was the king of Mali at the time. And Mansa Musa is said to have told him the story that his predecessor set out on a voyage across the sea and left him to rule Mali as king in his place. So, and he set out, there's a wonderful story of him setting out with about 2,000 boats and about 20,000 of his people. So there, you know, must have been, you know, 1,000 of them on each of the ships. So you can imagine how large they must have been. And there's another wonderful story, and I'll have to connect the stories that I found elsewhere, of Africans turning up in white robes in the Americas. And I think Ivan Van Sertima actually talks about that in his book. Some of you who've read his book, you know, about the Africans arriving in America before Columbus will be able to comment on that. And here's the artist reconstruction, and I'm going to quickly try and go through these now, last few slides. Here is an artist reconstruction of a canoe that was actually found in Britain. And wow, our history is just so scattered. This is what we have to do, try and pull the pieces together. And I want to rise up a queen by the name of Elaine, who was on part 1 and part 2 of our course, and is also joining us for part 3. She's the one who brought the Sutton Hoo treasure haul to my attention. And wow, it has just been amazing to look into it. Anyway, the Sutton Hoo treasure haul is this ship that was buried. And in that compartment that you can see in the middle, it was full of treasures, okay? And when our sis brought it to my attention, she said, could this be, could it have been that this treasure actually belonged to King Offa? Because she knew I'd written a book about King Offa, because, you know, they dated the hall to the Neolithic era, to the Anglo-Saxon era, which is the era similar to the era of when King Offa actually reigned. And so, you know, obviously I'm looking at it, we can see that the archaeologists have done the excavations, and from the reports that they had written, they've actually found that it was a burial tomb of somebody of enormous importance, because when they found the treasures that was on this Sutton Hoo boat, they knew that it couldn't have been an ordinary person, but it must have been somebody who was very wealthy and very prominent during those times. But anyway, it was back in 1939 that an amateur archaeologist named Basil Brown actually made a discovery. He was brushing away at some soil and realized that he'd unearthed an early medieval grave. So this boat was actually used as a grave. So it was basically in the form of a funerary ship, and it measured 27 meters long. And inside the ship was the chamber that was full of treasure. Now, I want you to take a close look at this helmet or this mask, because this was part of the Sutton Hoo, or this is on display in the British Museum anyway, as being part of the Sutton Hoo treasure haul. Also in the Sutton Hoo treasure haul, you've got this belt buckle. Look at this belt, this gold belt buckle. Look at the intricacies of the design. Look at the craftsmanship. Wow, and look at this purse clip as well. And basically, what they said is that the treasure included fine feasting vessels, deluxe hanging bowls, silverware from distant Byzantine Empire, the luxurious textiles. It included gold dress accessories set with garments in belt buckle, purse clips, and an iconic helmet with human mask. I mean, it was just packed with treasures, and there was more in it than that. So they were saying, oh, this must have belonged to a king. And this curator, Sue Burning, said that it is an early medieval European collection. And she says that the burial must have been the final resting place of someone who had died in the early 7th century during the Anglo-Saxon period, a time before England existed. And she highlighted the effort and the manpower that would have had to go in to burying this ship and dragging it uphill from the river, digging a large trench, cutting down the trees to craft this chamber. You know, so she goes to talk about the workmanship that would have had to go into doing something like this back in the 7th century, and coupled, she's saying, with the quality and the quantity of the grave goods. Wow, from all over the known world at the time, again showing that our people, you know, were all over the world at that time. You know, she's also saying it must have been a king that was actually buried there. But to them, they're saying that they don't know who it was. But curiously, in this picture here, you can see it's probably the image of, I don't know, you should have a skeleton in there. Well, they're saying that the person who was buried there was actually missing. I think we're going to find a lot of missing skeletons now that the geneticists are on the case. We're going to find a lot of missing skeletons, don't you think, Dr. Clyde? So anyway, let me quickly press on because I want to make a point here. A couple of points. First point I want to make is that in the hall, in that purse, they found a huge amount of gold coins. But when you zoom in on the gold coins, all the gold coins, except for 2, are faced on the other side. They're faced on the side that's got the writing. They're not faced up so that you can see the image of the king whose face would have been on the gold coin. And it's like, why? Why not turn the coins the other way up so we can see, you know, the image of the king? So, and then also they found as part of the haul was this shield, a really interesting shield, because it was made of, the underneath of it was made of wood and animal hide. And when you look at how the Africans made their shields, at the base of it, you had wood and animal hide as well. Okay, right, another interesting thing there. So the reason why I was looking close up at the coins is because, you know, I've seen the coin of King Offa, I've seen the coin of his wife. Let me show you them here. And when you look at their coins, a lot of it get hidden. You can see the images of the faces of the people who are on the coin. So this was King Offa's silver coin. And when you look at that hairstyle, and you look at the hairstyle of even the people, the Egyptians on the boat, you will see the similarities in the hairstyle. This was his wife, Queen Simferith. She even had her own coin. And if you look at this coin around the same period as well, this is King Ethelbert. He was the king of East Anglia at the time. And King Offa was so powerful at the time. You know, when he passed, his son, Icthrith, he went on to become king of Mercia. Their daughter, Edbra, she married Bereric, who was the king of the West Saxons at the time of Wessex. Their other daughter, Athelred, she married the king of Northumberland. This is how King Offa managed to be so powerful and effectively rule the whole of England, because between his daughters marrying the powerful kings of the time and the influence that his army had over other parts of England, he was effectively the ruler of England. Anyway, I'm going to skip this where I go into the kind of nuances of these different African cultures and their shields, because what I really want to hone in on is the mask. Now, here are 2 helmet masks side by side, right? And in Britain, they call these helmets. And they're saying that this helmet, which is in the British Museum, was part of the Sutton Hoe. But when I was doing the research, I found this helmet, which was also said to be from the Sutton Hoe. So were there 2 helmets? Or was this the original helmet? And was this helmet stripped of all of the intricate designs that was on the helmet? or on this mask. You know, Africans might call this a mask. In Britain, it's been called a helmet, okay? And it's like, what's going on here? This one on the left claimed to be an Anglo-Saxon helmet that was found in the Sutton Hoe. It's in the British Museum as part of the wealth of the treasures that was discovered in this sunken ship. And then also, when you do a bit of research, even on just Wikipedia, you can find what they're claiming to be a replica of the Sutton Hoe ship mast. But all these intricate designs have been missing. Why? Why would they want to hide all of these wonderful, beautiful designs that's all over the Sutton Hoe helmet or mask? Well, let's zoom in. When you zoom in, you can see the faces of these wonderful looking Africans. Some might call them the god Woden, yeah, who was an African god of Britain that the Celts and others believed in as well. So, you know, our history is just hidden in plain sight, and it's really exciting when you're doing the research and you're looking over what the archaeologists have found, when you're looking over at what they put in the museums, and you're looking over what they've not put in museums, and you're looking at how they've defaced things, you know, how they continue to deface and hide and try and obscure, you know, turn the coins the other way up, take off all of the intricate designs over the skull caps and just leave the bare, you know, copper and whatever, you know, metals as the base, you know, to deface the artifacts. So before putting it on display, so that we don't see, you know, these really interesting characters that are all over it. What do you think about that in the chat, family? You know, talk to me, let me know. So I hope that I've shown you the reason why archaeology is so important to us as Africans. And there's so much more that I can say about the importance of archaeological discoveries and why more of us need to be doing the research, why more of us need to be doing these courses. But I'm going to leave it there. And if you get the chance, do support the works, get a copy of my books. Let's bring in, you know, let me stop sharing there so that I can bring in our wonderful Dr. Clyde Winters. This is how we drop it on our course. Dr. Clyde.
You know, that family, you've seen some exciting historical information. And see, this is some of the things that we talk about in our course. We bring this information. As you said, I think you said, wasn't it Elaine who gave you that stuff? You know,
Elaine, yes, she's the one that brought the Sutton Hoe treasures to my attention, and wow.
Right. And the thing about the course is that it's supposed to last a couple of hours, but sometimes we'll talk all the way up to 10 o'clock. We start at 7:30, and sometimes we'll end up talking all the way to 10:30, whatever, because it's just that exciting. You have to join us for the class. You have to check it out. Do you have that commercial? Could you show it again? The particulars about the course?
Yes, I'll find it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And
you know,
and show it
while
again.
you look for that, I'll keep talking. Is that you have to understand is that, like Sister Shanice said, is that the Black people in Britain, they weren't isolated. That's why they called the Danunes. It's really the Danins. And the Danins it was another name of the Egyptians who settled in the Mediterranean. But we see in a sense that these Danins, these Egyptians, they didn't only settle in the Mediterranean. They were all the way up in Britain, all the way up in Ireland. And see, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that you understand that there were foundational Black Britons, that there is a unique history. And this is unique history of Black people that was in Britain that we're trying, in a sense, to make sure that we get more understanding of it. Because see, what you have to understand is that when you come to England, you're not an interloper. You're not really an immigrant. That's your home. That's your homeland. But what they've done in a sense is that they tried to whitewash everything. Shanice showed a very beautiful example of how they've taken these artifacts and they stripped the artifacts of the makeup of the artifacts, so you won't even see that there's a relationship between you and those and the ancient people in Britain. And you want to say no. Why would the European do this? No. The European is neutral. No, that can't be true because all the history that he writes is neutral. No, he writes history to try to legitimize his own presence. For example, they act like they recently found that ancient skull up in Morocco. They've been knowing about that skull for years. But what they're trying to do is that. They say that skull is 300,000 years old. Let me tell you, family, they found 300,000-year-old skeletons down in South Africa too. Well, see, what the European is trying to do is that they want to talk about the Moroccan skull because they're trying to push the origin of man into Europe, even though we know the first Europeans were black. But they're still trying to pretend that man originated in Europe and that they were white. And see, much of what we learn in these history classes is not the truth. Much of what we learn in the history class is just what they're saying took place when it has no legitimacy. It has no legitimacy. You saw, in a sense, how Sister Shanice showed these boats. We cannot even imagine. Many of these canoes have shrunk now, but that's because they were under the earth and the moisture has kind of sunk. But just think about it. Just think about how these canoes, the trees that they had in ancient time, some of those trees were hundreds of years old. They would, in a sense, they would hollow out the tree, and then they would take the entire tree and make it into a canoe. We have evidence. We have evidence from even the Europeans. When the Europeans went down the Niger River, they found people in canoes that could carry 100 people. Think about that. 100 people in a canoe, when most of the time the canoes look like it's only two. Like that canoe that they found from Dafuna in Nigeria. That canoe would have been much larger, but over time, because the fact it's under the earth, the moisture, it's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of shrunk a little bit. But see, this is just to show you our unique history. This is just to show you what they're trying, in a sense, to do. See, they're trying to find a way to deny our presence. They want to, in a sense, they don't want to reconstruct the skeleton from North Africa because they don't want you to think that North Africans are black. Because of the fact, in a sense, that you find a lot of white Arabs in North Africa, they want you to assume. So they want you to assume that since there's Caucasians living in North Africa today, that's how they were 300,000 years ago. But as Sister Shanice has already shown you over a cursory, this is just a cursory. This isn't even a detailed analysis of many of the artifacts that we present in our class. But the point is that it's to show you the uniqueness of the culture. It's to show you, in a sense, the existence and the gravity of this great culture. Think about that canoe. You saw that canoe that they found in Ireland. Think about that canoe. It would have been much wider back in the day. You see, it shrunk now because it was under the earth. Moisture has affected it. But just try to, in a sense, just try to think in your mind that you had, in a sense, men on those boats, women on the boats. And that's a very interesting thing. If you notice, Europeans, they tried to, in a sense, teach us that a woman was bad luck if you had a woman on a boat. But if you notice in those Egyptian models of the boats, they had women on those boats because they understand that a black man is nothing without the mother goddess. A black man is nothing without his woman. Don't get mad at me. I'm not against interracial relationships. I'm not against interracial marriages, even though some of the brothers have told me what happened to many of the black men in Britain who married these Europeans and ended up getting divorces later. But the point is that a European, a white woman cannot love you. A white man cannot love you. And it's sad to say this, but why, Dr. Winners? Why are you saying that a white man cannot love me? Why are you saying a white woman cannot love you? They can't love you because they've been taught every day, or they were growing up that you're beneath them. They've been taught every day that Black people don't have a history. They've been taught every day that Black people, in a sense, are beggars, interlopers, that Black people have never accomplished anything in life and in history. But see, that's why we have Sista Shanice. Bless her. That's why we have Sista Shanice. We have Sista Shanice to bring this knowledge to the family, a worldwide audience, you see, so that they can't hide it. And then not only in a sense, does Sista Shanice bring this evidence to you, but she gives you the receipts. She gives you the receipts. And see, that is the scariest thing about a researcher like Shanice, is that Shanice does not just tell you something, she shows it to you. And this is what the European fears. The European fears that you're going to, in a sense, really be a subscriber, you know. Elaine was just a person who came into our class, and we were talking about Blacks in Britain, and she did original research on her own. And that's how we found out about the Sudden Hole artifacts. Yes, family, that's what it's about. It's about sharing. It's not one of them, you know, because I'm a foundational Black American, and I have to go off what Neely Fuller taught us. Neely Fuller taught us, he said that you're prisoners of war. Since you're prisoners of war, don't brag about anything. Tell your history, tell your troops, but don't brag, because you have nothing that you can brag about. Because the white supremacists, as Shanice has already shown you, the white supremacist is always trying to disguise our history, hide our history, take away that knowledge, you see. Look, you saw the original Sudden Hole mask, but then you see what they're putting in the museum now. They stripped everything, stripped off anything that shows that they were Black people. This is it, family. This is it, family. You have to fight, and you have to understand that you are the foundational Black Britons. You know, can I show that? I got to show that video again by Yoshima. Let me show it again if I can find it.
Yeah, go ahead. And thanks for all the comments in the chat. Let me just pull out one or two. Oh, here we go. Here it is.
See if we can get it started.
Yeah.
This was made by Yoshima. This is made by Yoshima the genius. Yoshima, he makes beautiful videos, and this is the video he made about you guys. Yes, he made this about you guys over in Britain. Check it out.
Blacks and Britons, yeah. Now he told us we were strangers in a land we called our own. Caucasians who are Hebrew knew we built this stone by stone. From the ancient streets of London to the towns they claim to know, our history runs deeper like the river's steady flow. We built this land, yeah, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, trying to steal our pride, but we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. They say we're new arrivals, just got here yesterday, but our ancestors laid these bricks. Who's the immigrant, you say? From Africa to Albion, we crossed the endless seas, carried our culture and its secret we taught our seas. Yeah, from the ground up to the sky, our roots run deep, yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, trying to steal our pride, but we know the truth, we're the builders of this life. Your pasty ways lead you to make laws to push us out. We are the foundational Black Britons who built this damn house. In every brick, in every street, our legacy will stand. We are the people who built this goddamn land. This land to be raised, from the ground up to the sky, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah, 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 and our spirits never die, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, trying to steal our pride, but we know the truth, we're the builders of this life. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. Now
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rise up, Yoshi, there for the great
Yoshimar,
works.
he wrote it, he presented it, but he'll tell you if you contact Yoshi, you say, I got that from Sister Shanice. I got that from Dr. Winters. I got that from watching their shows. What he did is just he gave life to those images. See, I mean, when you read Sister Shanice's book on King Offa, you saw she showed you how King Offa looked, how his wife looked, how his daughter looked. But the beauty of it is that Yoshimar, he's put it into how it would have been presented back then at a regal court. See, we think about people being in mud huts, even in Britain, being in mud huts and walking around all dirty and nasty. You know, when they made that movie about the Irish fighting the British, they have them all dirty. No, that's how you think about it. These people were black. They weren't dirty. They weren't nasty. They weren't musty, I'm sorry to say. They did, in a sense, have a great culture. And see, that is what we have to remember. We have to remember, in a sense, that although they lie to us every day, although they try to make us feel downtrodden, they just had those troubles over in Britain. Whenever Europeans get upset, they want to go find a black person to beat on. They want to go find a black person to feel inferior, you know. I've talked to people, and they've told me growing up in Britain how a lot of times they used to have fights with some of the white guys because they would want, in a sense, start trouble with them. You see, a lot of brothers told me that yes, they married white women over there, but now they're divorced because it couldn't work out. And the reason they can't work out is that they don't know. They don't know your history. They don't know about the foundational Black Britons. They don't know about this. When they read about people like Oliver Cromwell and other people, or even Hume, the greatest philosopher in Britain, when you read about Hume, and you see his real pictures, not the pictures that's been whitened up. When you read McKay's book, when he talks about, in a sense, the Jacobites, and he describes the Jacobites, how they were black, red, ruddy, super black, super dark. When you read these descriptions, you see that everything you've been taught in terms of history is a lie, you see. But thank God that we have Sister Shanice, because Sister Shanice is bringing this knowledge to us. She's bringing this knowledge to you. Join our course.
We're thankful we have you. You are so encouraging, so inspiring. Family, those of you who know me, I wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for Dr. Winters. I wouldn't be so bold. But, this is the sort of encouragement that you get from Dr. Winters when you do the program. He inspires you, encourages you. So now, we've got students on our course who are writing books, who are preparing to do papers. On the last course, Dr. Winters actually shared an entire presentation on self-publishing. And so everyone that's done the course now knows exactly what they need to do in order to go ahead and publish their book, which is brilliant. Back in the days, you were saying you need to have, about $10,000 or pounds before you could actually publish a book. Now you can publish a book absolutely free. And how many books have you published, Dr. Winters?
About 45, 40.
45 books. I've got so many more, 43 more to go. I've got the one on your Asian books. I've got the one that you've done on Europe. And I know I'm going to get, which one would you suggest I get next in terms of my area of interest?
Just the world history. You got the world history. If you got the world history, the British book, and the book on the Eurasian, the fake Eurasian migration, that'll give you a great background in terms of ancient history, of British history. See, you have to understand is that when the geneticists see the whole history of Britain changed around 2008. Mm-hmm. What happened? They came out with an article, and in this article it said that Black people carry the Y chromosome R1. And they call the Y chromosome carried by the Black people in Africa V88, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Then all of a sudden, They found the skeleton from Italy. They went back to 7,000 years, and he carried V88. What? He carried V88. They said only African people carried V88. So what they're doing is that they're trying to rewrite European history. They're trying to rewrite the history. They're trying, in a sense, to take genetic haplotypes that are coming to Black people. Now they're trying to say, oh, no. It was really white people that had them first. See, Europeans, in a sense, there is no ancient history. For years they were teaching that the Assyrian people, ancient Assyrians, were white. For years I thought they were white, but then when I saw the real pictures, when we had the internet, see, the internet is so beautiful because it's people all over the world now, family. It's people all over the world now who have access to these pictures, that they're posting these pictures online, and we're seeing how these ancient people really looked. And they weren't Caucasian. They weren't white, you see. And so this is challenging everything they've written. And so even though they might write a book talking about King Offa was white, but then when we see the coins that Shanice has collected of the family, you see, he wasn't white. You see, it's not in the sense that we're teaching a racist history. We're trying to teach the truth. And what did that movie say about white folks? They can't handle the truth.
Speak with forked tongues.
They speak with forked tongues. Pale face.
Shall I play that our little jingle again now then? And then we've got some great comments in the chat as well. You might want to look in the chat, Dr. Clyde, if you can, and pull out some of the comments.
I can't. How do I see the chat?
Oh, you'd have to go onto your phone, but you'd have to go onto the YouTube channel on your phone, and then you should be able to see it. But you'd have to put it on mute so that we don't get the feedback. All right, here we go. Here it is. We hope. There we go.
Sister Shanice and Dr. Clyde Winters are back with part 3 of the British Black African History course. We will be studying the substantial power, authority and rulership positions African held in British history in time gone by. Imagery, inscriptions, documented evidence and artifacts will be presented to resurrect the memory, legacy and accomplishments of a glorious Black African history in Britain. The evidence presented in the course will leave you in no doubt of the authority and sovereignty Africans held as ultimate rulers of the land. The course will also highlight the integral role of religion in former African British society, their icons, highly revered African saints, Christ and emperors of the Christian religion. Starting Monday the 9th of September 2024 from 7:30 through to 9:30 p.m. for 6 consecutive weeks. It's delivered online, so you don't have to go anywhere. For more information and to download a free course brochure, go to sistashanice.gumroad.com or call 07961 909 595. That's 07961 909 595. This course is designed to leave a lasting legacy of cultural pride and self-esteem.
Rise up, rise up. We certainly hope that some of you will indeed be joining us for part 3 of our course. Dr. Clyde, if I can just drop in a couple of the comments in the chat. I want to rise up Sister Betty, who says, Mansa Musa's brother sailed across the Atlantic in the 1300s and found America. Yes, that's right.
And he left inscriptions. They left inscriptions throughout the Americas. They left inscriptions saying where to settle. I've written some articles. My first article I did was back in what was it, 19, it's about 1980 something or something like that. But they've left so much evidence, but the Europeans, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch it.
Mondele says, very amazing indeed. Is it because our ancestors had knowledge of the ocean current appear in specific times of the year and blew specific directions so that they could get them from one place to the Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's between, say, April and October. You can jump on the sea current, and the monsoon winds will take you, say, eastwards, and then, say, from October to April, the other way, you jump on, and it will carry you back. So, yeah, I mean, we studied all of that stuff from nature. Watch the birds. See, they jump on the same wind as well, don't they?
And just like now, I think it's the Abydos temple. One of the temples in Egypt, they showed the Egyptians had airplanes. They had submarines. They had helicopters. This is Egyptian inscriptions. You see, and but the thing is, this is that they want you to think that everything that exists today is modern. It's not modern. Let me explain to you. Many of the latest medical and scientific discoveries, they come from two universities, University of London and the University of Chicago. What does the University of London, University of Chicago have in common? And Cambridge? They have strong Egyptological departments. These people, they decipher Egyptian inscriptions. Then they write a paper and make it look like they made the discovery. No, they're just going off your black knowledge. Your black knowledge. That's why they're afraid. That's why they're afraid of what Sista Shanice is doing on this site. They're afraid of what Sista Shanice does on her radio program. They're afraid that you're going to know the truth. And if you know the truth, many of our people, I'm sad to say, many of our people, they worship Europeans. They worship them like a god. They think they can do no wrong. And they think that the only way that you can really be successful is to somehow be touched by them. Either get between some white thighs, you know, or let some European get between your thighs. And this is sad. It's sad, but this is what has to be changed. And that's why it's beautiful in the sense that we're trying to do this course, but also look back, go to Sista Shanice's channel. You'll see that this isn't anything new that she's doing. She's putting out the truth about your history. You see, you're the foundational Black Britons, because see, Britain began with you. They sent you away. They sent your ancestors away to Jamaica. In Jamaica, you know, back during the day, a lot of people said, damn, all these, where did that Jamaican get that name from? They looked through the slave records. When they looked through the slave records, they found all these names of the masters. But then they started seeing that the slaves had different Christianized names than their damn masters. They said, how did they get these names? They got those names because they made chattel slaves of Black Britons who were Catholics, you see. And because they made them chattel slaves, they did not make them indentured servants. They made them chattel slaves. You know, that evil Oliver Cromwell, who really in a sense was a brother too, but Oliver Cromwell said, we will send these people and they will work them to death. See, they sent people to the Caribbean, hoping that those Black Irish, those Black Britons, those Black Catholics would die out, would be worked to death, because that's what they did in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, they didn't try to give you a 9 to 5. They worked you until you died sometimes. It's just the will of God in a sense that people didn't just all die out, you see. But see, that's the beauty of us. We're hard people. We're hardworking people. The only thing I hate about us is that we will give everybody else a chance. We'll forgive white folks. We'll forgive Asian folks. But sadly, family, it's hard for us to forgive each other. And we'll fight each other and pull each other down, you see. But see, that's why you come here every Wednesday. You come here to Sista Shanice's channel, not to be brought down, but to be uplifted, because you learn the pride, because you learn the knowledge that can allow you to have the receipts. See, Sista Shanice, she don't bring you any bull. She brings receipts with her stuff so that you can always go back. And if somebody says, where did you get that from? I got it from Sista Shanice. And then they say, who the hell is that? Is she Black? You say, yes, but this is the record that she got it from. This is the book that she got it from. This is a slide that the archaeologists made of these beautiful boats. This is a slide that the archaeologists made of the mask that these black rulers in Britain wore, a mask which shows black people on it. Yes, yes, yes. This is it, family. When you come to this site, this is legit. This is legit. You see, this is legit because Sister Shanice does not want to teach you Blarney, as they say in Ireland. She's not teaching Blarney. No, she's teaching the facts, baby. She's teaching the facts, baby.
And thanks for teaching us, you know, of the importance of the receipts as well. And, you know, this is the sort of lessons that we got from Dr. Clyde, you know, the importance of making sure that we always document our sources, the books that we get it from, reference the books, you know, the articles that we use. It's all there to back up anything, you know, that we say. I want to rise up, S.A. Smith in the house, who says, in Egypt, they are restoring images using lighter skin colors and making new statues with more European Arab features. They are not, and they have not stopped the deceit.
It's sad, and not only that, but see, they're still in the artifacts. Look at all the stuff that they got in the museum in New York City and in London. I mean, it's a waste of time going to Africa if you want to study ancient Black history. If you want to study ancient Black history, you got to go to one of these white museums, the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago, you know, Cambridge University. You know, got to go to their Egyptological. You got to go to the London Museum. You see, because that's where they've taken the stuff. We had a spy. The spy was on Sister Shanice's show, and she was able to get down under the museum, and it was like a city, because they got artifacts all stacked up. But this is one thing I want you to remember. Go back and look at this video again. And when she showed the Sudan hunt material, you can see how they stripped the original images from the mask, so they could just show the mask, so you would not be able to say, aha, those are Black people did that. See, this is the extent that they'll go to make things a lie, to trick us.
Turning the coins face down so we can't see the images of the kings on those coins. Why were nearly all of those coins, you know, face down? Because they just hadn't done the work yet to, you know, to reshape the nose and as they do. Jairus Lottle, Rise Up, says, essay so true. It has to be disheartening for them to discover historical brilliance and then come to the realization that it's all African and that there is no evidence that they were even there. So someone realizing, you know, thinking how disheartening it must be for these archaeologists to be digging and knowing, you know, that they're digging our history, but they try and claim it for themselves. If they find something, they'll, you know, have it with an image next to them, don't they? So thank you for your comments. Keep them coming in. We are about 7 minutes away from the top of the hour. Jairus is saying, what I love about Baba Clyde is that he always brings the receipts. Yeah. Denise Rise Up saying, thank you both. This is a revelation. Be First, Chicago, USA. Black First, says our sister Denise from Chicago. Rise up, rise up. We've got Fonz in the house as well. Lark in the house, sending blessings to both of us. V Addo in the house saying, King Canute, the Dane Viking, was an African who conquered England. The Danish people were all Africans. Okay, well, what we do certainly know is that the world was Black before any European came on the scene. And you often talk about that particular volcano that erupted.
Santorino. The Santorino volcano, after it erupted around 1600 BC, it opened up the caves all the way from the Mediterranean to the Caucasus Mountains. And that's when those Europeans started streaming out of the caves. They didn't look like they look today. They look like they look today because they mix with us. But see, you can tell in a sense that Caucasians were originally black. How can you tell? You can tell because the fact is this is that. Whereas our children can come out in different colors, light skin, dark skin. That's why Europeans, their hair could be red, brown, black, auburn, because the fact is this is that, because the fact that their ancestors lived in the cave so long that the melanin stopped going into the skin and it started going into their hair, you see. But again, in a sense is that don't feel sorry for these people. You know, yes, they went through a traumatic experience, but that doesn't give them the right to hate us because we welcomed them. When they came out the caves, when they came, we welcomed them. We even, some of our women even married them, you see? So
Oh,
that
I think it was the men going with their women as they do today.
okay, yeah, probably they did
Blame
because,
them men, innit, women? Trying to blame us for mating with the Neanderthals.
you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
If
Like
it
you said,
happened, it was rape, yeah.
it was
As
the
they
men.
did on the plantations,
But you know, but even that's a lie. They didn't rape that many. They didn't rape a lot of black women on the plantation. You know why? In the United States, if they only talk about three, Nat Turner, a couple others, they only talk about 3 slave rebellions. You know how many slave rebellions really took place in the United States? 250. 250. That's not counting the black women who got raped and then later they put glass in their master's food to get back at them. No, sister girl didn't just take it. You know, that's why, look, right now, family, just put in slavery. When you put in slavery, they're gonna show you scene after scene of black women getting whipped. You know why? Because when that white man tried to rape them, that sister said, I will F you up. And they did, yes. They may have raped them, but later they got their house burned down. Or if they didn't get the house burned down, they found glass in their food. Sister girl didn't just accept that. That's what the European, he idealizes that, and he just said, damn, if I was a slave man, I could rape this. No, you didn't rape every sister. Because every sister wasn't gonna let you rape her. I'm sorry. See, we gotta talk real history. That's why Sister Shanice began the show telling you what happened to her video when she showed how slavery really was. When you went to the average slave plantation in America back in the day, they usually had about 2 or 3 heads hanging at the entrance that were rotting or on a pike. They had the heads on a pike, see, because it was terror, because it was about terror. And don't let them make you believe that every light-skinned black person was raped. It was already light-skinned black people on the plantation because they were the black Irish and the black Britons. But they want to make you feel that every light-skinned black person their grandma had to be raped or their great-grandma was raped. They wasn't raped. Because see, you raped a sister. Whenever you raped a sister in the United States, you was taking a chance that when you got your next meal, you know, or that night, your house was going to be burned down. Don't ever think that sister girl in a sense was out there just saying, "Oh, come on, master, to my bed."
Don't believe Hollywood.
That's all Hollywood.
Yeah.
All Hollywood.
Right out, Sister Ujamma, she says, tell the rioters to leave and go back to the Caucasus Mountains.
That's right. They need to go back. They're always telling us to go home or go somewhere. But if you ever notice, they don't tell FBA people to go back to Africa because most of us didn't come from Africa. Most of us are Aboriginals. But the thing is, this is that, but now we know that when you go back to Britain, when you leave the Caribbean and go to Britain, you're the Aboriginal people there. You're the foundational Black Britons.
Lark is saying lions are not from England. They were already put here by the Zulus. 3 lions on a shirt. Lions don't come from England. He's got Albion, the light. Absolutely, you see. We had these, what do they call them? Like heraldries, these symbols that represented heraldry, for example. And even today on my radio show, I want to rise up Mama in the Mama University segment of the show, we was talking about the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe. And those of you who know and have seen the images of the Great Kingdom of Zimbabwe, you'll see the soapstones that they had around the kingdom. And those soapstones had eagles on them. And the eagles represented power. It represented, security. It was like a spiritual guardian over the people. And those eagles, even those have found their way onto heraldries and flags and crests and things all the way here into England and English royalty. So yes, there's so much. The lions from Africa. And go ahead, Doctor.
See, family, what you don't understand is that Africa today is much more drier. But back in the day, Africa had gigantic mega lakes. Black people were not afraid to sell. They've convinced you that Black people can't swim. We're afraid of water. No, that's only because the fact is that they don't have swimming pools in the FBA communities. And wherever you find a swimming pool, you find Black people. You find Black people can swim. Black people like to go to the beach. But the point is this, is that the European has established these myths. He's established these lies so he can legitimize his existence and make you feel that you just stayed in Africa. Oh, afraid to go travel. No, just like they wanted to see the rest of the world, we wanted to see the rest of the world too. Just like they had adventurers, we had adventurers. And this is something that you have to understand, is that the Black people in Britain did not live in isolation. They did not live in isolation. They were communicating with people back in Africa via boat, communicating with people in France, all over the place, because see, the boat has always been there for Black people to use. Listen, do you know it's less than 1,200 miles. It's less than 1,200 miles between Africa and South America. On a map, they make it look like, it's an immense separation. It's only 1,000 miles. I mean, that's less than driving down to LA, driving to Las Vegas or LA from Chicago. See, but they made these maps, and they made the maps so that they don't really show how it is. We ran over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just noticing. It's good. Rise up, Lark in the chat as well. Look at his comments. He's made a lot of very important comments in terms of British history. Someone who's been doing his research. He's talking about the Black Tudors, but the Albions of Europe. The name Europa is Black Princess or Queen. That's right. I've got some of this that's going to be. I'm going to be going into these on the class as well. Where the name Britain comes from, where the name Europe comes from, where the name Scotland comes from. Black history all over.
You can't look up the Black Kings, because the Black Kings, they used in a sense the Latin word for black, which was nigger. And see, that's why if you put in there the nigger kings, so they'll show a long line of them. But if you put the Duke kings, but see, this is the whole point. The European has taken our words and he's used these words to condemn us.
Denigrate us.
Black means brilliant, but he uses these words to trick us.
So Joel says, yes, see how they create museums and fill with stolen artifacts and charge high fees. Also create zoos with captured animals and yet charge high fees to see nature's wildlife. So many great comments in the chat, but as you can see, we've come to the end of our show today. If we were on a course, we would keep going for another hour or two. Dr. Clyde, we've actually gone on till midnight. There was an occasion where we went on until midnight. Yeah, because we also, it's not just about us presenting. You've got a little presentation from myself, but on alternate weeks, Dr. Clyde Winters himself, he does presentations, and we even provide a space for our students on the course, should they wish to do so, to do a presentation. In fact, we encourage them to, because we really want all of us doing this work. Dr. Clyde makes me feel special, but I'm not special. I tell you, I've crawled out of my comfort zone to do this. And I know you have given me the boost and the confidence that I need, not just to present and research, but also to write. And, you know, I'm forever grateful and thankful to you for that, and to everyone who was on the course with me. And this is what we do. We support and encourage each other. So certainly hope, you know, some of you who are watching today are going to be joining us. Dr. Clyde, as always, it's a joy and an honor to have you on this platform. Thank you so much to everyone in the audience who's been following us. Thank you so, so much. Please do subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and get our books. Yeah, support us. You can support us. If you can't do the course, maybe it's a bit too pricey or it's the wrong time for you, show us your love by just buying a couple of our books, and we would much appreciate that. It's not that we necessarily, you know, have to survive on the books, because if it was the case that we needed to survive on the income that we got from the books, we'd be on the streets. Because our people are hard work. But family, what it does, it shows you appreciation. It shows you love what we're doing. And so, you know, just as a demonstration of you appreciate loving the works, get a copy of, you know, a couple of our books, especially Dr. Clyde's works, which is phenomenal. Thank you all so, so much. All being well, you'll be joining me again next strong, my special guest, author of the book, something to do with that, out of the Pandora box. Where is it? He is going to be talking about AI, you know, and AI taking over. Where are we as Africans in the whole AI, you know, development that's happening? We really need to give this some thought. And so let's take a listen to our guest next strong as we go into the development and advancements of AI, taking over everything, flying planes, right, vehicles, you know, running the banks, the finance institutions, everything, everywhere. AI, you can't talk to a human these days. Next strong. Thanks again, Dr. Clyde. Thanks again to everyone in the audience and to everyone who watches and shares. More love, more strength. Sister Shanice out of here for now. Bye for now.